What are the key steps involved in planning a successful technology migration project?
This was a very old computing system that
Grunt at the time.
that people that are still in their hundreds are now still running and making a lot more money than we do.
Remember the chip shop?
Did we not do this in the migration? We had things heavily scripted
You had
so
the
they could
assets.
give better
That's what we-
throughput, more consistency,
Yeah.
all that. Better, well, we would hope better user experience, and for the most part, I think it worked. Okay, part 2 of Round the Table Chat on Transformation.
And we're structured this
I'm
time.
a little bit more structured this time, but we thought best, and this is the last episode, guys, of Series 1. So for the last 20 plus episodes, thank you for being with us. Danny, the business of the podcast.
Yep, you've heard it before. Thank you to our partner, Xtelligence.com, that powers InfoMattersPodcast.com, and I didn't put cat in. The episode previously was more of a, like the four of us, it's the same crowd again, discussing our experiences. Now we're going to be a little bit more structured. But again, down to it. Please ring, subscribe. We've topped 1,000 subscribers at the moment. That's a lot of people for a couple of nonces like us.
We need to get
No nonsense.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent words there, Daniel.
So thank you again. If you're interested, someone you know is interested, you want to win some merch. I mean, get it. I'll sign one of them for you. Actually,
Yeah.
it's signed, made in Bangalore.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your support. And today I'm going to be the panel host, and I've got 3 reprobates. You all know Joel. Welcome back,
Yeah,
Kenny.
good to see
you're
you.
the host, and Mr. Stennett.
Yes.
So,
Give us it.
here we go. Question 1: what are the key steps involved in planning a successful technology migration project? Hands on buzzers.
I know what Dave was going to say.
Stennett goes first.
I
You
know,
rang
what-
the
I know,
bell,
I know, I know what he's going to say.
Read the question again. One more time.
What are the key steps involved in planning a successful technology migration project?
Drink.
And that comes after.
Well, knowing what the end goal is. What's your end goal?
Yeah.
That's
Having
me.
a-
I asked
having
you
a
the question.
vision.
Yeah,
Having
well,
a
so
vision.
so I would say knowing where you want to go sounds stupid, but a lot of people want transformation or they want to do something, but they don't know what the end state should look like, right?
Yeah.
So the simplest thing is to write a user case, right?
Yeah.
How should your environment look, right? And you can map it all out from a user perspective.
Like
or,
a big hole with an arrow going into
or
it?
you can
Yeah,
do that,
yeah, as
yeah.
a case
Or
maybe.
how apps should be managed and how it should look like. So it's a simple modeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can work it out from there.
Kenny?
Okay, I'm going to say, and then I thought Dave was going to say
No, I'm
this.
going to go. We'll go around the
Yeah,
table.
I was going to say, we all know that we have a heavy reliance on good data. I was saying in the last episode that at 2024 we would hope and pray that we would have got better grips on data quality, that sort of stuff. We haven't.
That data
And I
quality
fully
thing.
expect that our next assignments will run into the same problems. But in the start, a degree of snapshot the data cleansing analysis, work out what your good parts are, because there's always some shit, and go from there.
Joel?
I think it's having an understanding of the order of things that's
Mm-hmm.
important too, right? So, having a understanding of your end state, really important to know where you're going from and where you're going to. But I also think it's quite important to understand and as you're going through that process, to know what's your critical assets, what are your critical things, and applications are commonly referred to as critical assets because they're so important to the business.
Yep.
But I'm referring to what are your critical assets to ensure that the business can actually work. Things like your core infrastructure, your networks,
Yeah.
laying down the foundations
Yep.
before you try to build the house. It's really, really critical.
Yeah,
He said laying down, which is
Let me
also...
add, let me add one thing.
Laying
So-
down a foundation is also a core word for dump.
Yeah. So let me add one more thing to that because Joel brings up a great point. So since I've been in security the last couple of years, actually that is really one of the more important things, understanding your assets, your data,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
As you said earlier. And understanding how you can protect that because that is the most important thing you
It's a
own.
new oil,
and,
right?
and because the attack vectors are becoming
Yep.
Broader
so
and broader.
broad now
Yep.
that your end state, you have to have the fortress, right? So it's not just a technical migration, but it's how are you going to get those security layers on top of that new
Yeah.
environment.
That's
So-
7 security layers that are quite important.
Which has
Yeah.
gone from when we all started in 2007. We all met, and you're migrating users, computers.
Yeah.
So we weren't involved in setting up
Did we-
networks or
did we
network
even
security.
say
But
did we even say security then?
no,
I
Very-
don't.
we said
very
perimeter
rarely.
very
I mean,
rarely.
very rarely.
No, hold on, we did. Well, we were changing disguises to sneak by them, so we could
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
into
we
the
were-
rooms
we
we
were
weren't allowed
finding-
in.
it's like
Efficient,
when you go past the
semi-compliant.
change request room like
Yeah,
this
but
with the
you-
board.
you were-
But we
yeah.
weren't involved in anything
Yeah.
security or cybersecurity
No.
then, because it wasn't that.
The
It
driver
can
was getting it done,
It
right?
was right.
Yeah.
I'm on it. We got
Yeah.
250,000 users on XP. Get them onto 7.
Yeah.
That was our job.
Yeah,
And with Active Directory
but
email.
technically, we were moving them into a more secure situation.
We
so,
were,
Oh, true.
but as you and David just said, the security, the attack vectors now have got so broad.
Exactly.
Our involvement, and you said, Joel, quite rightly, with applications. So there's an application, but an application involves now everything.
Yeah.
From the network it sits in, the
So-
ring
so
fence
th-
it
so
sits in,
this
the
is-
computer it's sat
this
on, the
is it.
zero
This
trust
is
it's
it.
connected
Yep.
to.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
And
huge.
we shouldn't be dismissive of the security gains of moving off an XP that's not patchable, no all that kind of job.
Smart people are still on it.
onto one that is supported and patched appropriately and all that kind of good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that
So
leads
maybe-
me on.
yeah,
that
maybe
leads me
then-
on to
yeah.
the second question: how can potential risk be identified and mitigated during planning a technical migration? With every day, there's something new.
I
Go
mean,
run- go run there, Joel, go first.
Ring the bell.
You guys are gonna hate me. Sorry at all my friends at EY, but hire people to backfill your better engineers. So identify your better
Nice.
engineers inside
Yeah.
the company, then find the right people to backfill. Give them the time to come in and get up to speed. And then pluck those good people out and let them help you plan for
Yeah.
the future.
I love that.
Because they will actually help you get from A to B because they understand how to do it. And what
agreed.
I see most times, that step gets skipped and the management gets too excited to pay the big company the money, and then what you have this disconnect between reality and theory.
Yeah.
And their theory is right, but
But
you
you
apply
stated
that.
in our episode previous, Joel, you pay big bucks and they come in with data. Here's your attack matrix,
Yeah.
MITRE attack,
Yeah.
but it doesn't get implemented for 2 years, so the data's pretty much
So it dates,
dead and out the
it dates immediately, right?
And as you've just it's bridging that gap
Yeah,
to
yeah.
bring in the right resources, the right knowledge. You've got the big boys; they get brought in anyway for audits. We've all been
Yeah,
through
yeah,
it.
Yep.
But does it help the way we do and identify risk?
I'm not saying that they don't help, and they
No, of course,
they
of
actually they're useful, but you can't just. And this is the one problem I always see. They go easy
could- you could,
peasy.
you would,
We're
you
going to
should.
bring in this group,
Yeah.
this big company X, and they're going to do all the planning, and then we got company Y
And-
out of India, and they're going to do all the execution. And
Yeah.
it's going to be perfect.
Exactly.
But
And
X and Y have never worked in your company, and they actually don't know your processes.
Yes.
At the end of the day, those processes are what kind of creates the foundation of the company. It's how
It's
things
what
get
makes
done.
the money. What gives people truth. And my point, Danny, to your point is fail fast, right? So the sooner
Yeah.
David made a valid
Yeah.
point in the last episode was you can plan this to the nth degree. You can iterate that plan till you're blue in the face. Start.
Yep.
Just start,
Yep.
because until you start executing, you're not going to learn. And so when you do, and yes, it's typically the big 3, big 4, PwC, all
Yep,
these kind of
yep.
guys who give you a nice slide
5.
packs. Until you start executing that plan, you're not learning whether that's a valid plan or whether there's bullshit in it.
Sure,
So
we'll agree.
I
But I'm still walking
massive
past
ad-
the cab doing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get shot.
Well,
if you
the
do
big
that.
companies
Yeah.
ask a good questions,
Yeah.
but I don't trust them too much on the actual implementation.
No, likewise.
Well,
they're
that
good on the
comes
theory.
down, that
less
comes
on
down to the
practice.
team you've got, as
Yeah.
Joe was saying, building the right team, getting an understanding of the right team, and that's where so.
And I'm not saying no planning. I'm just saying
of
don't plan.
So
for
we-
eight-
well,
if 18 months from now, who the hell knows what's going to happen? Plan 3 months and start, and then
paralysis, right?
absolutely,
Planning
absolutely.
into paralysis.
Yeah.
So you over plan and then you never
Yeah.
execute.
Yeah. Change fatigue. what if start.
Which are all factors that come into every program project, regardless. That,
It's also very hard to do. I mean, you got
I can
effectively an
PPP, I'm
elephant.
50.
You got an elephant in the room, and everybody's sitting around trying to figure out how to slaughter and eat it. And then you got
Nibble it to death.
the one
remember-
Kenny who just
you remember-
walks up and starts gnawing on
you
the
remember-
leg, right?
No, you get an AI robot that chops it into bits, puts it in the basket, fries it, sticks out the window. Off
you got to start, and then you get some earned value out of the plan. You get some value out of the money spent, and you get some. Yeah, so we always used to say in our deployment. So we had pilot sites, alpha, beta. I forget the terminology. So, but each pilot was a valid migration. It's done.
Yep.
It might have been a little bit bumpy, so you wouldn't pick the exec, but you'd pick your friends and family.
Okay, so this wasn't the question I was going to, but it's flowing that way. What metrics should be used to measure the success of a technology transformation initiative? We've mentioned plenty of them now.
Yeah, we have.
From your team to not just bringing in the big. Anyway, the question's out there. Who would like to answer
Dave.
first? Oh yeah. He keeps touching me.
what are the metrics? Well, obviously,
For you, in your
How do you measure the success? then,
partially
right?
it's part of your project.
what
plan,
metrics
right?
should be used to measure?
Yeah, what
Right,
metric
okay.
should be used to measure?
Wow.
Well, the common PM is like on time, on
budget,
cost,
yeah,
all the dumb
under
stuff.
budget, up your
That's
bottom.
but that is true. But at the end of the day, it's customer satisfaction.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Now, satisfaction, of course, will come in
I
a
don't-
multitude
I
of
don't
ways.
think-
Sorry, are your end users skipping around the room because they've got Windows X?
Well, have you
Windows
made their lives
7?
easier, right?
Right,
So
well,
is their
new
day-to-day
laptop-
No,
work
no, I know.
better?
And
But,
actually,
tell me one time that we've walked out of a room and the people were
Well,
like, "Thank you for doing that to me."
well, I was about
Even
to
with
say,
a new
Oh,
laptop.
they
That's a
curse your
re-
they
that's
curse
a-
your name until 2 weeks later, and
that's
then
a
they're
re-
like, "Oh, this is so much
It's
better."
a
Yeah.
really hard
Donuts and
metric.
Moe.
It's a really hard
People
metric
are-
to achieve, and we used to do it when the migrations included new hardware. If it was an in situ migration, it's an inconvenience and a bugbear.
But even
They're
with new
never gonna
hardware,
thank
you would still. So you're doing an
Yeah.
Active Directory migration.
Yeah.
But they went into their own groups. So they get
Yeah.
a new laptop, they
don't-
log in or can't log in,
Yeah.
and they've got no applications downloaded.
So it's a negative
So
experience.
we go back to Dave and his team, and they
Yeah.
push them manually as
Yeah.
opposed to over the network or SCCM.
Yeah.
The way you do it, you order
Yeah.
it delivered. There's always those challenges. So even new hardware doesn't
no,
cut it.
they-
You're
for
always
sure.
going to have a few bumps, but
No, of course, and it comes down to the messaging. I always used to say
Yes.
this is going to be a little bit
2,100
bumpy.
flights, 700 hotel rooms.
absolutely, hugging babies and all that kind of
Donuts.
stuff.
Bum
Right.
disposal
Oh yeah,
expert,
never
yeah.
underestimate the value of a pizza and donut meeting.
But
with
right?
yeah,
Face
Yeah,
to
yeah,
face,
for sure.
face to face.
We used to, I used to
flew everywhere.
We
Didn't
used to do put lunches on and invite people in and try and do the migration when they're having a. Didn't always work.
That's why I'm allergic to goulash.
I mean,
liters of it.
interesting question, because how you measure this is going to be very different for every organization, because it's
Sure.
going to depend on
every
how the
stakeholder.
organization is set up
Yeah,
and the
every stakeholder.
stakeholders.
Yeah.
But I would say, typically, if you get a budget and when you start and when you're senior enough, you start with an idea and you got X amount of millions of dollars that you plan for this transformation. When you see your burn rates, right, and I
They
think
get
I
scary.
think to me what the best way to measure it would be, what's your burn rate versus how much has been done. And when I say how much has been done, you know what your end picture looks like.
Sure.
If that's only 50% filled and you're already
70%
through your budget,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
probably got some issues
mean,
you need to look into.
When did you start?
We
2 years ago,
used
what
to
have you
say
done?
some people should have got a gold-plated laptop. I mean, by the time we had migrated them, it was quite. Maybe it depends on complexity, right?
I mean, I'm going to go through this week or next week. We're going to have our
Yeah.
site migration that they're doing, and I the 2 sites they've already done are bonkers how bad it
Yeah.
went. And you know what? I don't care. I'm just rip the Band-Aid off. Give me the stuff.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out on the fly.
Yeah, exactly. So your program management and your stakeholders, if they are saving the money or cost avoidance and whatever way it comes, that's one success rate. End users, they're hard. That's quite a hard metric to meet. You have to beg forgiveness and all that kind of stuff. Like I say, like Joe said, nobody ever thanked me for migrating them. Nobody.
Well, they did.
And all the
They
millions that
did
we
when
did.
you weren't there, right? They did after
Well,
the fact. Like,
if-
wow,
if
this
they
is
did,
better
they-
a month
they-
later.
No, we got gold and black carpet at the Park Inn on Bath Road.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
But that was for visiting a hotel every day for
70
2
nights
years.
a year. A year.
That was nothing to do with migrations.
no,
that was
exactly.
we
They rolled the
migrated
carpet out. Welcome to the bar.
we
Christ,
migrated
needed it.
ourselves there. Yeah.
Right, go on then. Next question. Let's go.
So we talked about the challenges you face. Fine. So we kind of hit on this in the last episode, or actually no, when we were talking before last episode, in terms of a lot of businesses now, regardless of the industry, have moved from on-premise to cloud,
Yeah.
and now cloud to SaaS.
Yeah.
SaaS being the solution it's managed by.
Yeah.
So how does cloud infrastructure migration differ from on-premise infrastructure migration, and what are the benefits?
I can give
So
you
it's
one.
kind of,
I
the
can give
reverse
you,
way around I've asked it.
Yeah,
Because I already
I
summarised it.
can give you one immediate gain
Then
that
it's
I've,
got it written across his
I've,
top.
I've yeah. And you can see it in his face. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Mitigation.
Yeah. Is most of the SaaS providers will give you a migration route. It's in their interest to have you onboarded so they can start billing you.
For about
So this-
250K, they're more than happy to migrate everything for you.
Yeah,
And that's about the going rate I've found on most
actually to be,
vendors.
Well,
about
the question was,
250K.
how does cloud infrastructure migration differ from on-prem?
Like
I-
hosted,
I-
though,
I-
locally
I-
hosted. So
so
it's
you,
on
you
I
mean
can
you
give
mean
you one-
between
Basically, they're spinning up the
I
environment.
can give you one big difference.
licensing.
You now have a networking scenario that is not as clean as you would if you're on-prem. Now you've got to hop through. You've got data charges going in and out. You've got transitive
Yeah.
gateways. You've got now.
which is a negative. What you say?
I mean, it creates additional cost and additional complexity. So, as much as it's nice to have it all be on somebody else's computer, you end up, and this is, and I've seen it because I've done it both ways. you pay astronomically.
Fees, yeah.
It's all about, it's so cheap to move on to the SaaS. It's great. We do everything for you. Oh, you want us to change that? Oh, you gotta
So
you
then
gotta
Monday,
buy a
right.
pack of points to use the points
yeah,
to have us
SOW.
fix something.
So every-
Licensing.
every
so
change
now
is ka-ching.
So now I'm locked in, and I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. There was two companies.
Side to side VPN tunnels.
There were
No.
two companies that in the previous company I worked in, we dropped. I mean, we just cold dropped them because their SaaS solutions that they promised could not live up to what they
Didn't scale
promised.
up.
And the worst part is, they work wonderfully for the first year of the contract, and for the last year of the contract, they work horribly because all of the
All the fixed
resources are
pricing.
rededicated to
Yeah, I
the
see.
new customers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know,
And all the fixed pricing you've agreed expires, and then you
it's a total, and then
Incremental.
they have a new pricing model
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything. It's a dangerous, slippery slope, and it definitely takes the control out of your
Away.
hands.
Yep.
In some places, it makes sense, and in some situations, I see the logic in it.
Yeah,
Not for
I'm an
critical
old school
data.
guy,
For me,
but I-
not for critical data.
I'm an old school guy. I believe in your
crown
data.
yeah. Yeah, your crown. Yeah, I was going to say. Actually, you said dangerous there.
Why do I
You
pay
lose-
for my data five
You
times?
lose control
Yeah.
of the security of the environment. You're relying on a vendor, and there are glaring omissions that have spawned.
But then you also have to bend over to make sure that your current
you're bent over by the
you're bent
vendor.
over,
Yeah.
but that your current network architecture has to be compatible with theirs
Yeah.
because they've got more customers than you're not.
Yeah,
you're not bothered
yeah.
about
No,
it.
no,
Then
Danny.
you have-
No,
you've got to
no,
open
Danny.
up your
You
doors.
don't. You just it takes you twice as long to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
everything
we
done.
know that.
You
A
know
lack-
that, right?
A lack of flexibility because they're not going to change
Yeah,
it
they're
for
like,
you
well,
because
you're
they want,
just
you,
wonk-
they want
yeah.
uniformity because that's where they get the support.
Well, this is why
efficiencies.
everyone consolidates to the big ones like AWS
Yeah.
or Azure, but they
You're
don't
very
care about
configurable.
you
No.
because Microsoft is a
Doesn't
gigantic
matter how big
company.
you are, you're still too small.
Well, you're still too small because
Yeah.
they're going to be working with governments that are
Yeah.
bigger, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're always not prioritized. You get someone on the... dude, I've seen the tickets go on for weeks for simple things that are costing the company tons of money.
Yeah.
You've got engineers waiting around. You've got project managers,
You got
program
a
leads
cost
waiting
per
around.
ticket that you're paying to ServiceNow or whatever the
yeah,
other
yeah,
company
yeah,
that
it's
you're using.
ridiculous.
that don't integrate with ServiceNow.
Yeah.
So you've got another hop to use their tools. There's a gap in communication, which means
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not getting your SLAs met. That's me from an from,
Yeah,
a,
yeah,
from
yeah.
more of an operations side of
So,
building.
so it doesn't
process.
sound like there's a pile of good.
Well,
Okay.
no, there is. In certain,
Yeah.
in
We
certain-
need a-
hold
we
on,
need a
hold on. In
graphic to
certain,
go up with,
certain
like-
scenarios, it actually makes a lot of sense, right?
So where's the good?
So for example, we have external partners that we do a lot of trading information with.
Yeah.
So data
Yeah.
that has to go out to these business partners. We want to do that in a pretty secure way. You can use cloud and SaaS providers to help you do that. And in that scenario,
Well, we had that in old DMZ days, right? You
Yeah,
had
yeah.
them all set up like that. So, I mean, that's what the whole DMZ concept was.
That's
right?
DMZ for those of us who speak English.
Demilitarized.
I said Z. I even use your
You
stupid Z. DMZ, proper American.
it's not like you said aluminum or anything.
Yeah, aluminium.
Aluminium.
Fucking schedule.
Garbage.
Who has a schedule?
Rubbish.
eyeglasses. Color.
Fucking Brits. Wankers.
Waste paper basket.
Okay, go. You leave me in my fanny pack alone.
Yeah.
Touch my fanny. You get battered in England for that.
Talking of fanny pack. Go on, Joel. Danny.
So
go.
here's one again off the cuff. Now, how can legacy systems be integrated with new technologies to ensure smooth technology transformation? It can't.
Can't.
Nah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
They
fact.
leave those things running because they don't know the
Yeah,
admin.
yeah.
They don't know the guy
Yeah.
who managed it left the company 5 years
I
ago.
walked past the
Oh,
bar.
nobody's got the
works.
admin password.
It just
Nobody, it's not been
works.
rebooted in a
I walked
thousand
past the
days.
post office the other day, and in the
just
window,
works.
you know when you do displays on like
Oh,
a
yeah,
ship, and it's got Windows XP.
But
I'm like,
I
well
knew
done.
you were going to
Yeah.
say
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
You know what? It's still it's not working.
Look,
it was on
you
its.
know that-
It was like in the
You
reboot
know
screen,
that's-
right?
you know that's not been
Windows
rebooted.
XP SP2.
Yeah,
and you're
it
just
can't
like,
reboot. When it tries to reboot inside, it's going, don't do it.
No, no,
Don't
no,
do
no,
it. They
no.
don't like me
And-
anymore. Don't do it. I'm hiding. I'm in Mexico.
And I've been there where I happened to be literally a crown jewel ran telemetry for it doesn't matter who, was running on an old NT4 domain.
Yeah.
Nobody been anywhere near it. Nobody wanted to go near it. The company I worked for inherited it, and they
Best
and they
Microsoft
put the
product,
thumb
though,
screws to us
It was.
to get it off, and nobody knew the credentials.
Yeah.
And then of course Muggins over here inherits the project to go and reboot it, and I went, not on your Nelly.
Where's
Don't
you
touch
all
it.
remember? And this is a shout out to Steve Grace, T-Rex. You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about legacy systems to new systems. So you remember the AS400s? They were
Jesus.
optical discs.
Yeah.
You're a bit of a small lad. And
For
we
for
had
all
to-
of those new millennials, This was a very old computing system that
Grunt at the time.
that people that are still in their hundreds are now still running and making a lot more money than we do.
But
if
we
you
had
need a
to,
movie,
we had
you
to
need a
get
forklift.
we had to talking legacy to new. We had to get to fly from London, the
remember
data
that.
center,
With a set of discs.
with a set of optical
yeah.
discs on a and he did it like 10 times because the company we worked for wouldn't insure it.
Yeah.
And nobody else would. So literally, that's how we
You had to
migrated.
chaperone the
So
disc.
legacy system would literally just take them out, dust them off, put them in a box,
put it-
fly on Ryanair,
yeah,
pay for
plug-
your own Pringles, and then get it to a
Plug it
data
back in.
center.
And I've done a few projects where they just they don't migrate. They just spin up and then move the data and then power down.
I'll be honest with you,
If that's well,
Yeah.
I'm
Broadly speaking.
kind of one of those that leans into the. I don't like the concept of lifting and shifting data over and systems.
so
And
well,
I'm
if you
a
take
big
a
believer-
risk-based approach, that's sometimes the best way, right? If you-
I don't think so. I think actually at the end of the day, the technology and computing is advancing at too fast of a rate.
Yeah.
Right. It makes no sense to keep legacy things in place because legacy today.
I was about to say legacy,
legacy tomorrow
I was
already,
I was going to say legacy today is still new. The things I'm talking about were things that had literally not been rebooted in 1,000
Yeah, but
days.
you're in OT, like in OT.
Well,
so.
no, I am now, but
Yeah.
but I'm talking. I'm not. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, they were poorly managed then. They're better managed now. So you have the chances of the same scenario where you've got something running and nobody wants to touch it is probably. I'm not going to say not going to happen, but less likely.
So there's no, the real answer to that is it's not a good idea.
Yeah,
but we have
yes
to do
and
it.
no.
It's not.
Yes and
It's
no.
never good fun. No,
Yes and no, because we were discovering a few of these. Like, oh, there's a server in the closet behind my office that's where we
Yeah.
actually process
Well,
all of the company's
no.
financial blah blah blah.
And it's always a fucking financial shit sitting under somebody's desk. And you get it,
Or-
then
or-
you find
or
on
a
the net,
domain
you're like,
controller.
let's unplug it and see who squeals, and then fucking Spain blows up, and you're like, plug it back in.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was airside at one company.
We did
and
that
it was
once.
like,
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
give these like 20
Oh, you
users,
can't find the orders.
give them new desktops or thin
Yeah.
clients, but there's 10 machines missing. I needed them for my
You can't
migration
find them.
record. So you open a closet, like, there's about 50 in there.
Yeah.
And then you get them out, and like you can't boot them. They've
Yeah,
not been
I know.
powered up. But you find out all of them are like payroll services.
Yeah, I know, of course
So it's
they
like,
are.
well, what do you do? Well, clearly don't pay anyone. You just
Yeah.
put them in a cupboard and fucked off. Right, I'm on to Benidorm for 2 years. Up your own, son, Gregory.
Yeah, because that was the.
I'm sorry, we can't pay you.
We might
contractor.
need that.
Yeah.
And you stick right, and it's in the drawer for 7,000 years.
Well,
and it's back to the active directory data at the bottom. You've got a dross of 700 machines scattered all over the world that in an OU that tell you they're important, but nobody can find them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're going to go, right, well, I'm just going to delete that or disable it and then see who squeals.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
delete an
It's hard.
object in the old
Yeah, no,
days,
of
you
course,
just
right,
went-
and it can't
Well,
join.
do you remember back in the day?
Disable. We disabled the
Disabled.
object. We
Yeah,
disabled.
yeah, yeah.
We re-enabled.
I
Re-enabled.
would
Re-enabled.
delete and go, oh.
Somebody in France for a particular
Oh, my
OU.
word.
Do you remember?
OU went
And-
AWOL.
I do
basically,
remember
I know-
because I
yeah.
spent.
I know you for those guys- I know you for those
night
guys out
manually
there.
fixing that.
George,
So in Active Directory, you have an organisational unit
Yeah.
that basically governs a country for authentication and access.
Yeah.
And if you
Deleting the
delete it
tree.
and you go to the office and you're
the
in
users
France,
disappear, the
you
mailboxes
can't
disappear,
work.
the PCs
And
disappear.
and someone did it. I mean, in
Yeah.
Microsoft, you should go. You don't.
Are
do
you
that.
sure?
No.
You really
There's
don't
like
do that.
5
You're dead if
pop-ups.
you do that. Oh, my name Bob. I don't like OU.
I don't think it was Bob.
No, I think it was Bob Anderson.
Making that
Was
up.
it?
No, I think we know it. Why we're not mentioning him or her. But
yeah,
I
I
remember
remember
Joe
that.
came in and he's fucking matchsticks in his eyes. Well, you've been here all night. You went, oh, fucking
No,
weekend.
but that was the French OU.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That wasn't the Sweden email.
No. That French OU, I was
French
fixing
OU.
all that. Though I spent a lot of
That
hours
was
on that one.
emergency.
And that was a
on that for you.
contractor that did that as well.
Yes,
It was, yeah. That was
Yes,
a
it was.
career-defining moment.
Yeah, like
It wasn't you.
Wasn't me.
oh no, it wasn't me.
Well, it wasn't us because we all survived at the end,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, we all had right, shouldn't have,
Yeah,
but didn't do it. Didn't do it.
Right, Danny, give us another question.
Now this is a belter because in a lot of our shows we've covered off automation. We all have automation. Never see any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
you do every day. It's called self-help. You know when you go to the bank and there's nobody there anymore? That's
That's all I
automation.
Ah, right. That's more like
You know when you call the
Self-help.
phone company to pay your bill and you just get into that
Yeah, yeah.
Voice,
messaging?
voice control
That's
nonsense.
the
IVR.
beauty of
Hold on.
automation.
So what-
Wait, hold on. So the automation I remember is when this guy had access to virtual VMware and was spinning up VMs.
the vSphere.
automated by clicking a button because someone had a nice script, and someone would say, "We need a new VM," and he would make 10 of them.
You
and
know,
then the data
he's
center would go.
selling like chocolate bars.
So you know the big Tesla bulbs, like, the whole data center was going.
And I was like,
Everyone, if you had hair back in the day, people the hair was static.
Yeah.
Hey, look, so it's easy to.
That's what happens.
But if only we could get the automation now, you can't.
It does exist, but people don't let you control it
No,
anymore.
because it's all AWS and all that stuff.
yeah.
So the question that's going to go around the table is: what role does automation play in streamlining the infrastructure migration or transformation
boring
process?
processes.
Transformation. Let's forget.
Actually,
Sorry, not the boring process, the repeatable process.
Or how should it
So-
assist? More to the point.
I'm ringing in.
Yeah,
on
sure,
this one.
sure, Jay.
Actually, I'm
How's the last
pretty
one to
passionate.
make it
I think it can add a lot of value. It's going to go a little bit back to what I said earlier. You've got to have a plan. You got to know how you're migrating, how your data you want to flow.
Yeah.
But you can use automation to build new processes, cleaner processes that are finer
Consistently
tuned,
applied,
that
yeah,
are, and it's not about replacing staff, but it's about making your staff's life easier. You know, you were talked about the user experience.
Yep.
You can actually give your users a better experience by giving them a simpler way to do the same job. So instead of having to click 15 places to get that data in the spreadsheet, now you click once
Ding,
and,
ding,
and,
ding,
the,
ding.
and the data's there.
Remember the chip shop?
Did we not do this in the migration? We had things heavily scripted
You had
so
the
they could
assets.
get better
That's what we-
throughput, more consistency,
Yeah,
all that. Better, well, we would hope better user experience. And for the most part, I think it worked.
And now there's so many tools, you like low code, no code, that,
Right.
you know, to build your building
Yeah, yeah.
blocks, your APIs of the world, whatever.
So I think that automation plays a big piece, and I think it actually should be part of the picture that you're going to move into.
That's
right?
more
You
the
should
question.
really-
That
you
should have been the question more direct.
Yeah,
Is
I mean,
how
I-
do we implement it? How do we get it more recognised? Because we all work for big corporations, and I see very little of the automation tools that should. But yeah, you see a bit of BI there for somebody who wants a dashboard.
I see a lot of BI.
but not getting as well a lot of BS.
BS.
Yeah.
But I don't see enough of, you know, we want to automate this process or flow to make things work. So
That goes back to strategy and having good leadership.
it goes back to the first
Yeah.
question that David answered. Know your end goals, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean,
Yeah,
if,
exactly.
And
Exactly.
if automation needs to feature in this, then I mean, actually, Danny, you say that. I with the exception of the Office 365 self-help, the BI that you can build yourself, nobody does like. I don't see a lot of enterprise-led automation for the stuff that is repeatable and dependable and
I do.
and forecastable. Oh, give me that.
I do, but I don't. I do, but it always is driven from the bottom up instead of the top down.
Right.
And that frustrates me because the bottom up approach gets you to a point, but it'll never go past that point because without leaders going, we want to have a strategy, we want to define how we want to leverage this, and we want to implement it in a smart way. We have a plan.
Yep.
We can fail fast, make mistakes, and adjust on the fly, but we have a vision for what we want to get to. You know, the companies we work in, they automate a lot of the infrastructure. I mean, you might
Like
not have
provisioning,
realized
that
it,
sort of stuff,
but a
yeah.
server being built for the last 5 years was
Heavily
all
scripted.
automated.
Yeah,
heavily
yeah.
I mean, as
scripted.
Stennis said, and that's got to be what, 7 years ago when I was
The
doing that? 10
security
years ago?
hardening, everything that they're doing these days is
vSphere.
all scripted.
More.
Yeah.
But
We still use it in the company I'm in, so.
Yeah,
but you did it from the ground up. What you need is
True.
somebody above saying, okay, guys, somebody who would come into your team and say, okay, how can we improve your
We get
processes?
15,000
Let's look
tickets
at
for
your
this.
processes and let's
Yeah.
break them down so that we can automate
Amen,
this
yeah.
and then improve the speed of delivery and
Yep.
improve the customer relations. You need somebody who's going to endorse that and fund that from the top down,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
from the bottom
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
people are hungry to do it because everybody wants to life hack their job away. You know,
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
But
right,
it does require a bit of tech investment, and there's not always the save. I mean,
But
there's a savings in
there's-
time,
but
but
the
there's not.
executives just want to be like, yeah, I bought an automation tool. We're automating,
So I mean,
but you're not.
I mentioned,
you don't have a strategy.
I brought the
behind
comment
it.
up because I'm going through that.
Right.
So I've got all these ideas, and you know, speak to Joel about them, and it's like we need this and that. But to get the buy-in from the people to make it happen, just takes too long to get it done. And then again,
Well,
we go-
that's where you go back to sometimes, and I'm going to go back to what Stennis said earlier. Sometimes it's better not to ask everybody, and it's better just to start doing it.
But the thing
Because
is, you can't do it
better
without
to
a
ask and
license.
beg
You can't do it
forgiveness,
without
right?
access.
To
You
some
can't do
degree.
it
you'd
without.
be surprised at how far you can get. And then when you go back door to a guy, hey man, I'm trying to get this done. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. I just need a little help with something. And you'll find people will actually collaborate to help you work around your issues. Of course, at the end, you got to give them all the credit and love for it. But But I actually find people will help you do it. But you just got to start. And a good example is, the situation we're in now where, there's people who are paralyzed because there's so much going on in the transformation. There's so many unknown answers, right? We don't have an official IT operating model, or we're expecting a new one to be released anytime now, but we're designing and building services already.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the old driving the car while you're building it. Or whatever.
Right? Yeah, changing the engine while you're up in the air.
Right, yeah.
So I go back to be able to fail fast, be able to adjust, but have an idea of what you want to do, and then just start doing it. Because you got to start taking bites of the elephant.
But then there's so you bite the elephant, but then you're stuck because everyone else is.
This one surely just stuff repeats and you don't get the efficiencies and
Anyway, the question was about how automation assists.
Yep.
I mean,
I'm just waiting for the day when it does a lot.
It does. Joel's point, and it needs a top-down driver.
And do you deploy a lot of automation within yours?
The problem is most of the time you're trying to do it in a brownfield environment, right? It's already existing, and therefore it doesn't work that well. It has
automation was on top. It wasn't there from the start.
Exactly. So you need to, if you can greenfield it in, it's okay, but it really depends on what you're trying to do, right? So because automation is also scary, you can also it can get out of control.
Yes,
sure.
Yes,
very
well,
good.
and of course, automation is not just the server provisioning that we've done all our lives. There are. When I was in pharma years ago with these guys or you, I think we're all there.
We're all there.
They were actually using desktop agents to do certain repetitive tasks, that sort of stuff, invoice processing, that sort of stuff. I forget the product, it doesn't matter what it was, but that had job efficiency, and it wasn't to replace people, it was to make.
Remember we had Stuart Watkins in, and he said he caught a member of his staff replying to an email. They went, "Oh, we've got AI to do that."
Yeah.
Well, see, this is. I'm glad you said the buzzword because that was exactly what I wanted to hit on. We're talking about automation, and automation. You have good engineers who know how to write good scripts. They can automate things, right? And good automation can be applied when you leverage smart people from your organization who understand the processes and you apply them together.
Sure.
When you get somebody who walks into the room going, "We're going to do AI and automate," that's when things become a slippery slope because, again, AI is nothing more than a computer model that you have to build, that it has to learn from what you do. And then it can do a lot of things that you don't know it's doing.
It will learn stupid shit if you're doing it wrong, too.
Which is why most AI and most big companies somewhat fails because we're humans. We're not computers. We don't do things in always a logical way. And the AI starts to learn that illogic.
AI has become trendy, and we've talked about it to the nth degree. And everyone wants to adopt it in anticipation of all these gains. Danny, I'm conscious.
But if the internet fails, you can't get money at the bank machine. You're 3 meals away from killing your neighbour.
Yeah, there was a Netflix series on that with exactly. Danny, I'm conscious we should round up series 1, my friend. Here, conscious of time.
Wow. Well,
I mean, we could sit here.
No, it can't end. Season 1's over.
Joel, it's done, brother.
But
anyway, I mean, first of all,
what are we gonna do?
Well, I mean, Joel and David, you've been on the show
appreciate your time.
a number of times. Thank you all for your inputs. Thank you to the producer behind us. Exactly. I'm not going to say it. You know what to do. Absolutely. But all I can say is we are coming back with season 2.
So take a little
there are a couple more episodes coming out, a few tickly bits.
Yeah.
And I think from all of us, it's just a huge thank you. Thank you to all those who subscribed. It's over 1,000. Hopefully, when we come back, it'll be over 2,000 or maybe 1 million. If it's over 1 million, I'll keep my umbrella. Anyway, It's been wonderful, and thank you all.
Back to Scotland.
For the 2 million subscriber, it's a trip to Bangladesh on us.
He doesn't know yet, but our producer's going to fund a holiday for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he knows it's quiet in the background.
He knows now.
Pakistan is beautiful this time of year.
Anyway, thank you all from all of us at infomatterspodcast.com and xtelligence.com.
And we'll see
you
next
later.
Take care. Happy summertime.